What is up, you guys? This is the Yeet Fishing Podcast. I'm your host, Taylor Hadlock, and these are your co-hosts, Shannon Bradford and Tyson Belknap.
What's up?
How we doing, guys?
So we are here today to talk about how to target different species and kind of the specifics of what you need to do to prep for it and what to look for and how to go out and catch those fish that you're wanting to catch. But first off, we're going to talk about recent fishing trips.
Well, Tyson, you want to go first? Not fishing, but...
It's
Yeah.
some sort of tracking something down and trying to get it there.
Recent trips.
Went out to pheasant opener this week, or I guess a couple weekends ago. Didn't have much luck, got 2. Went out there with my buddy's dog and was able to kind of spook some out there, but we know how public land is, and especially for pheasants, you got to know what you're doing. And this is kind of my first year doing it, so it's kind of a fun learning experience. Might have to go down to the Lehigh thing they got out there where you just go out, buy a couple birds. Yeah. Get a little more practice with that. Should have had a couple more, but just new type of hunt, trying to learn how to do that there.
You got some though?
Yeah, got 2.
Nice.
Yep.
That's good.
It's fun. So.
You go.
Well, you got 2 or you got 2 as a group?
Got 2 as a group.
Hey, you
I'm
know
still saying
that works.
We got
that
2.
works. That's better than nothing.
Yep. No.
Doesn't Lehigh, so I saw something on Facebook a few years ago where they let a bunch out and like people with bows and arrows go and shoot them while they're flying off.
Oh, really?
So you can hunt them
That's
a
crazy.
bunch of different ways out there. You buy like a couple, however many birds you want. I think when I went, it was like $20 a bird.
Oh,
And
really?
then it's easy. It's like going to the trout. I don't know if you guys went to the trout farm as a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just fishing all the trout. It's like that. So I was looking for a little more of a challenge, but gotta first learn how to nail them.
Yeah. No, that's pretty sweet.
So
Sounds fun. I've always wanted to do it.
no, it's a good time. We'll have to figure something out there. It's a good group activity. So
Yeah, for sure. I used to raise pheasants when I was a little kid. We have a chicken coop, and I don't know, every few years we'd swap back and forth between pheasants and chickens and the pretty birds.
Yeah.
I just
Cook 'em
never
up, eat 'em?
cook them up and eat them. We had them for Thanksgiving. This is the perfect time actually for it. So next week's Thanksgiving.
yeah,
Oh.
I think, right?
Yeah.
So by the time this comes out, it'll be like perfect timing. Yeah. But yeah, we used to raise pheasants and we'd cook those up, and the pheasants would be gone before the turkey was. So
Really?
they're super
good.
good,
Yeah.
super good. So
Never had it.
but my recent trip,
Drum roll.
yeah, I found ice.
Hey.
It was very crappy ice. Probably shouldn't have been out there, really. It was like an inch and a half to an inch and 3/4 of clear ice, and then on top of that was like, a half inch of cloudy ice.
Oof.
So like around 2 total inches. So
Dang.
You're lucky you're light.
yeah, I know.
You're 120 pounds soaking
Yeah,
wet.
dude. Yeah, pretty light, so small guy. So that worked out, but it was flexing. It was a little bit of cracks, but when it's thin and soft like that, it just kind of bows down.
Yeah.
So
Dang.
yeah, wherever I was standing was like filling up with water. And,
Yeah, you sent us a picture there, and the one trout that you had the picture of, he was in a good inch of water.
Yeah.
On top of what
Cool
sounds
picture.
like an inch of ice.
yeah, I made for a good picture, but it was a little scary.
Mm.
So I caught 2 real fast and dipped because I didn't want to risk it any more than I was. But yeah, spud bar was going through pretty easily, so I had to be careful.
Yeah.
But
Hey, you
anyway.
got on ice though. You started your season.
Yep. And then the weather got really warm this week.
Yeah, it's
So
been terrible.
it's like 70 degrees today.
Yeah.
And down in town, obviously in the mountains, it's going to
It's
be
been-
colder, but
It's been torture. It's been awful. We had the cold snap for a couple days, a couple weeks ago there. That's when we got that first sheet of ice there, and now it's so unpredictable.
Yeah.
I mean, we were fishing Thanksgiving. I was really looking forward to doing an after Thanksgiving trip because you get that Friday off. Not this year. It's
I don't think we'll get it.
Nope.
Maybe in the high windows
Yeah,
it
maybe
might
high.
be better next week, but Schofield, I mean, I was on Schofield last year just in 3 days, and it was fully capped, and I was on 3-4 inches. I felt safe, and we're not even close to that this year. Sucks.
last year by this time I was on camping on Huntington.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's way different year. It's not even close to freezing over right now. So,
Keep our
anyway.
fingers crossed. Pray for ice.
We need it.
Yeah.
We need it. So everybody wants it. Everybody's getting the itch, I feel like.
Yep, everybody's getting that itch. But Taylor, what was your recent trip?
My recent trip was to New York. Went there with the family. Spent a week there, but right before that, went up to Bear Lake and went and fished for the Lakers, the spawning Lakers. Kind of funny. We got there at like 5:50. We were at the Utah Marina, and the gate was closed, and so we were like, "Oh crap!" And like we saw like, "Oh, park opens at 7," but didn't see that there's a sign right on the gate that says gate opens at 6. And so we were like, "What do we do?" And so we're like, "Do we park it across the street over at the gas station and then just walk in, or do we go to the Idaho side?" And so we're like, well, we heard some people were doing pretty good. You were telling us that your buddy did pretty good up on the Idaho side. So we're like, it's only like a 12-minute drive. Like, why not? So we went up to Idaho side, and there was probably like 8, 9 other groups out there of like two, three people just along the side. No one was catching anything. And then it's probably after like 3 hours of fishing, one guy hooked into one. And then right as he was releasing it, I then hooked into one. Nice. And that was the only fish we saw. And
little bite window.
Yeah. It was a good fish, though. I mean, it was thick, and it was 28 and a half. So it was a fun fish to catch from shore, and just it was girthy, so it was the best part.
Yeah, it was fat. Yeah. Pictures look good on it. So.
Yeah, it was a good
Not
fish.
a waste. That's the best part. Not a waste of a drive.
Yeah, almost was. We were getting worried. It was like an hour before we left, and so that was my trip. So definitely recommend it. I'll definitely do that more often. Hopefully, Bear Lake will freeze this year, and I can get some trips up there. Because that got me hyped to catch some Lakers through the ice. It was a fun time.
They're fun fish.
That's why we're going to have to do the gorge more. We're going to have to get you on some of those Lakers out there.
Yeah, I know. I want to get out there more.
I actually was talking to this guy, BMF Outfitters. I don't know if you guys have heard of him, but he's willing to show some secrets up there. So
dope. Is he from here or up there?
He's from Ogden area, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll have to double check where.
It's a fat drive for him.
Yeah, for real.
So, must be dedicated if that's where he's willing to go.
Do a little podcast thing like this, yeah.
What's his name again? Shout out to
BMF Outfitters, I believe. BMF Outfitters. I'm not sure where you're from, but awesome dude.
Shout out to you, brother. We'll see you out on Flaming Gorge. Getting
That's
us
right.
some fish.
If you follow along with the podcast, there's probably not a whole lot quite yet, but yeah, last week we didn't get a podcast out. We were sick and
out of town.
Yeah.
It was just a busy one.
Busy week.
Tyson was on his deathbed.
Yeah. Fun times there.
Yeah.
But especially with the ice, I feel like we'll be able to knock out a couple episodes when we're out there for a couple hours.
Oh,
so
yeah. Those will be some fun episodes coming up.
So won't be missing any more weeks at that point.
Yeah. So, ice report. We kind of talked about how crappy it is right now. What are you guys' ice predictions of looking for the next week or two?
Just kind of looking at the weather and everything. It's maybe within the next week and a half, I would think is what Shannon was thinking for Mammoth/Huntington. I'm looking at like Park City, those higher elevation cities within the next Thursdays when we're supposed to get a really big, really good cold snap there. Looking under that 40-degree weather and in those teens at night, which hopefully will reflect across the rest of the state there.
Yeah.
Uintas will for sure be good probably by next weekend there, based off the weather we're looking at. Mm-hmm. And other than that, I mean,
Skyline.
Skyline.
Some of those smaller lakes on Skyline before you get to Huntington.
Skyline Drive.
I heard they froze already. So today's Wednesday, and we'll post this podcast on Monday. So
so this following weekend since post Monday, up those in the Uintas, and we should have Skyline Drive pretty solid out there.
Yeah.
Based off of what a lot of people are predicting too for Schofield, from who I've been talking to, out in the gas station, some of those guys, they're thinking it's probably going to be more like that first week of December is when we're going to start getting ice in that arm, and then that second week of December is when we should cap. So things are looking pretty good for what we're looking at.
Hopefully that's what we'll see.
For more ice there.
Yeah.
But fingers crossed, knock on wood, if you have any around here.
Up above.
up above.
I'm thinking, because you look at Lake Monster, the app, that gives you kind of like some like satellite views and stuff, and then it also gives you like the water temp. A lot of them are super close. They're under 40, And so it's getting close, but it's just not there. So we just need those cold fronts to come through and pushes it. And
Yeah, I was looking
it'll get 'em.
today, and I was expecting Mirror Lake and up there to be like one of the colder ones. And there was one out by Skyline Drive that was actually colder,
Yeah.
and it was at 32. But Schofield, I think today was at 36.
Yeah.
And Moosehorn, or excuse me, Mirror Lake was at 36 as well.
Yeah.
Which is shocking.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
So it's there. It's just we need that cold front to freeze the top layer. Because, I mean, 34 is typically what we're sitting on with the water-wise, and then just ice on top of it. So,
For those who don't know, was it Lake Monster?
Lake Monster.
Yeah, explain to them what that is. Great app.
I use it specifically for when I'm wanting to see if lakes are frozen over. I think it's like either every week or every 10 days they'll take a satellite image if you're on the free version, and it'll just show you what the lake looks like. So if it snowed and it's frozen, that lake will be covered. If it snowed and it's dark, then that's basically showing you the lake's still open. So I like to use it for that, but then it also gives you kind of like a forecast of the weather every hour and things, what the wind will be like, and also like the temperature of the waters, which is super helpful when water's needing to freeze. So it's this up here on the screen if you're watching YouTube. So go and download it because it is helpful when wanting to get on first ice. So, you have anything to add to that, Tyson?
No, I mean, yeah, I was just looking around at some of those lakes. Cascade had snow all around it. Or, no, excuse me, Henry's up in Idaho had snow all around it. Not frozen. But, yeah, it's one of those things that you can look, get a little bit of hope seeing that there's snow, and then not make the drive out there and have it be open water. So it just helps, super helpful for preparation, things like that. Don't want to be underprepared in those situations.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, shall we get on to our topic today?
Let's do it.
So, how to target different species. So, we kind of are going to go into depth of what you should do beforehand to kind of know what part of the lakes you should go on, and then what you should do when you're on the lake and try to find the fish. So, should we start with everybody's favorite? I feel like, well, mostly everybody's favorite here in Utah, trout.
I'll start with this one, fellas, because I feel like that's my...
Take it over, brother.
That's kind of my niche right there. You guys are the walleyes, and I don't know, you guys big perch guys? Big perch, crappie?
Crop,
perch.
panfish, love them. So this is basically like stock trout. So you got rainbow trout, cutthroat trout, tiger trout. That's basically those.
Splake, you can't forget. That's
Splake.
my personal favorite. Don't leave those guys out of there.
They're cool.
Brook trout.
Yep, brook trout.
Brown trout.
Brown trout, those are another great ones right there. These guys, at the beginning of the podcast, I was a little hurt because they said you just drop a line down there. And honestly, that might be the case for your cutthroat trout and your rainbow trout.
Yeah.
You know,
The other species are harder.
but the other species are harder. But for your rainbow trout and your cutthroat trout, which are great fish to get people started on to get addicted to ice fishing. Most popular places for those, if you want to guarantee fish, are going to be Strawberry and Schofield. Hands down. I mean, if you want people to have a good time and catch lots of decent-sized fish, those are going to be your two blue ribbon fisheries for those types of trout. Generally, for Strawberry and even Schofield, we talked about this 2 episodes ago, I believe, just about different lures for different types of fish, are going to be your white tube jigs. I've had killer times with those little tiny white tube jigs that these guys were making fun of me. It's not the size, it's the presentation, y'all.
Hey, they work.
They work. Those small ones they're cool.
And
I like them.
it generally, it depends on how the fish are. I've kind of downgraded throughout the season. I'll start off with something big because it's that first ice, and then throughout the season they get a little bit more finicky.
Yeah.
They get more lethargic in a way.
Exactly.
They calm down because, I mean, you've been sitting in water, cold water.
Yep.
So your body kind of shuts down more. And so, yeah, they kind of just slow down and just get kind of more mellow as the season goes on. Because, I mean, for me, when I'm sitting in cold water, it's like my body shuts down. It gets cold. And when you're cold out, you just get tired. So fish do the same thing through the winter.
That's oxygen, too.
That's oxygen, and it's also, that's what I'm most excited about this year is going to be being able to get away from people. You get in those areas where it just, like, the fishing is on fire the first couple weeks, and then everyone's going there because it's easily accessible.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, it's dead. And so now being able to kind of move where those fish are, and figure out where they are and going to be biting is kind of what is going to be nice with targeting with different type of species. Because especially with those lakes, like Strawberry has kokanee. You're very limited to where you can get into those kokanee if you don't have a machine. And those at certain access points you do have, lots of people are already going to. So
Yeah.
seclusion and structure are very, very important for that late season, as well as presentation with those smaller baits. You can catch bigger fish with bigger baits as well, but it kind of just depends on what it's like at the time.
Yeah.
That's the thing about fishing. It's different each time you go. It's fishing, not catching.
Yeah, that's right.
Different every day. Because I mean, it could be early season, but they just like the small stuff rather than the big stuff. So.
Yeah, another good thing to use for those is going to be your spoons. Been on the frostbite train for the past 3 years and been using those dinner bells. Those are killer. Know a couple other people that have been using big bass rattle baits lately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And those are actually a lot of fun to fish with too, because the fish act differently than when you're just fishing with plastic or spoons, and you see kind of that different activity and stuff.
Great way to call them in.
Yeah.
If it slows down, throw something big, aggressive, pound it on bottom, because that brings the fish in. Because they're like, what's going on? I want to see.
I actually saw this cool thing, not to go off topic, guys, but it's something to inject your plastics with a rattle.
Really?
Yeah, super cool idea there. We'll post the link up here. I was watching this video earlier today, and you get your plastics and you can inject it with the rattle. It's a little rattle like this big.
Little rattle chamber.
Yeah, little rattle chamber, and you stick it in your plastic, and then now you can get your plastics to rattle.
Huh. That's
so
cool.
Kind of a different aspect of things when you want
Yeah.
a plastic that rattles, and they don't really have a lot of those.
No.
Yeah.
Kind of a cool
Unless
thing.
they're like pre-rigged and stuff. But,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you got your rattles, you got your plastics. Generally, tube jigs are my favorite go-to. And kind of going into the paddle tails a little bit last year, which were killer. And then, honestly, for your cutthroats, you can just get a little tiny tungsten with a mealworm on there and catch them
Mealworm.
the same.
Regular earthworm, shrimp.
Exactly.
Just suspend it on a jaw jacker.
Just let it hang out there.
They lack
Now,
flavor.
My personal favorite are the splake. The reason for that is they have a lot of the same attitude that the lake trout have. So when you're fishing for them, you're kind of doing the same thing, reeling it up, having them chase it, and setting that hook. And so they've been kind of my practice go-to for catching those and kind of getting that itch on for a little bit more different fishing.
Yeah.
It's nice to have something chase it rather than just come in and eat it no matter what it is.
Gotcha.
So
So
you don't know what a splake is. It's half lake trout, what's the other half of it?
Brook trout.
Brook
I
trout,
think.
Half
yeah.
brook?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's got laker in it. Makes
Uh-huh.
Feisty.
They're
them
aggressive.
feisty, yeah.
Feisty
They get
fellas.
big too.
Yeah, those ones you can catch at Joe's Valley, Jordanelle, Fish Lake, and
Huntington.
Huntington. Yep.
Yeah, they suck some. Yeah.
And Electric Lake. I can't forget Electric.
They put some in there? I think did they?
I'm pretty sure that Electric has them up there.
I thought they just put Lakers in there.
We'll put a disclaimer if it's not.
I think, yeah, the electric just has Lakers, I think.
Yeah.
Just Lakers? Okay.
Splake or just Huntington.
Yeah.
Okay.
Could be wrong though, I don't know. I'm not positive. But.
Yeah, not a lot of people go out to the Electric for the lake trout fishing there.
Yeah. There's. Never mind. I don't remember the lake. Spaced it. Yeah.
I space lakes sometimes too.
Yeah. You know,
What structure are you?
I don't want to tell everybody. That's why.
What structure are you looking at? Water depth or structure?
So I
Or
actually
trout.
just started switching. When I feel like at the beginning of ice fishing, you generally are looking for depth. Like most people are asking, what depth are you in? Where are you fishing? How deep? So just recently, this past year, I've really started looking into structure and everything. But generally for the trout, I was fishing anywhere between 10 feet to 30 feet of water. For your lake trout, you're going to want to go a little bit deeper, go anywhere between 40 to 80 feet. Some of these guys go down to 120 feet.
Yeah,
I don't know if my gear could handle something at 120 feet, so I haven't gotten that deep yet. But for structure now that I've done a little bit more research, what I'm looking for are weed lines. Those are great places for trout. Even if you find a weed bed and you suspend above a weed bed, you'll kind of be able to drag those trout out of there. And kind of rock ridges and things like that, things that you want to look for places that the fish can push the bait up against and not have it get away. It's like a funnel almost. You want to look for funnel structures, and just anything that kind of gives differentiation to what they're looking at. If it's a lot of sand bottom, you see a rock pile, go for that.
How do you find that stuff? What do you look at beforehand, or how do you know?
So I used to use this website and it only had a couple different lakes. We'll post that right here, and had probably 5 or 6 different lakes that you could look at in Utah. Generally Flaming Gorge, but you look for rock piles, which are going to be kind of circles that expand out of each other, or the humps there.
Contour
maps on there. That's what I use, the contour maps. I just upgraded to a Garmin that shows mapping on there, so that's what I'm going to be using this season. But for people that can't access that, Navionics, this free website I'm posting up here, and there's another website that you do pay for that I heard about today that's just released last year, and we'll post that up here as well.
Oh, nice.
But that one, I believe, is $15 for the year, which isn't bad. I think for Garmin Plus, it's like $75 for the year. 75 or 50.
How much is Navionics?
Can't remember which one Navionics is.
Around 60.
60 for the year.
Yeah. Not sure, though. I'll look at it.
Me personally, I didn't like how Garmin is now switching over to the non-SD card maps. So I did purchase an older unit with the SD card on there and got the SD card. If you get the SD card and go through Garmin and get the most basic one and use a 10% off coupon that they offer you right on their page that pops up, I think you can get all the mapping for the US for $60 is what I got it.
Not bad.
And yeah, that's great. No ads, don't have to worry about renewing subscriptions or anything like that. Yeah. And it does update with the system as well if you connect to Wi-Fi.
Nice. That's super helpful. What Garmin you using?
Garmin. So I got the EchoMap 64 CV. I should have just spent the extra $40-$50 to get the 72 because I can upgrade it to LiveScope later.
Yeah.
It was a good deal. Bigger screen. I honestly think the one they sent me is the wrong one because it says it's supposed to be a 6-inch screen, but I've measured the screen itself and it's like 8 inches.
Hey, I'll take it.
The unit across is like 12 inches. So
Heck yeah.
I don't know where they got this 6-inch screen out of, but it's a cool unit.
Vertical.
Vertical, that's sweet. But it's nice, has the 2 screens on there. It's pretty much just the Garmin Striker 4 on steroids. And I'm getting to the point too now where I'm like sitting there on my fish finder. I'm like
squinting your eyes.
Squinting my eyes, even with my glasses, and half the time don't even have my glasses on because the tank gets foggy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about someone that maybe doesn't have electronics and stuff. Because I mean, when I started out, I just went out, walked out, middle of the lake, drilled a hole, and fished. But then I slowly through the season, I kind of learned some things. So what I would do is I just basically go to shore, go 10 feet from shore, drill a hole. And then 10 feet from that hole out, just drill another hole and do probably like 4 holes out. And then I would just drop all the way to the bottom and see how long it would take me. Or what you do is you pull out and you just kind of do like a 2-foot pull out of your line, just loosen your drag a little bit. And then that way I could be like, okay, 4 pulls, pulling about 2 feet out, 8 feet down. And so that was one thing that was super helpful, so I could be like, okay, I'm in this area. And then another thing I'd do is I'd throw a big ol' tube jig on, and I'd jig that pretty hard at the bottom. And if it kind of felt like it was getting stuck, and I pull it up and there's like green on it, I know it'd be on a weed line. So then I'd move a few feet off of it, so then that way I could find like the sand or the weeds and then fish that way. So, but now I have electronics, so I drop down a camera, see if there's weeds down there, or drop down my electronics, see what depth I'm at. But that's kind of one thing I would do if you don't have electronics.
Definitely. No, I remember first starting out, hand auger.
Yeah. It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work, especially when you get late into that season and you drill a hole. Like, hey, I'm about 200 yards away from shore. I should be good. You pop down. Pull weeds up.
Yeah. You're like, oh, I'm shallow.
Oh my gosh. Walk out some more. There was this one time I actually went to Cleveland Reservoir, okay? First time ice fishing, or first season ice fishing. didn't do my research during the beginning of the year that Cleveland Reservoir had been drained that year. So I drive up there to probably January, so you know how the snow gets up there. Start hiking down. There's no water here. Start walking out some more. There's no water here. And it starts getting to the point where the snow is so bad, it's like up to my waist. I'm like, I'm going to kill myself if I don't turn around.
Yeah.
And I still haven't hit water. But make sure where you guys are going has water and has not been drained.
That's funny. That's funny.
Oh, that's rough.
So, well, that's one of those trips where you just come, because I was going for Thanksgiving, come back, hey, how was ice fishing? Yeah, well.
He's out there drilling holes.
Yeah.
Didn't get in nothing is all I said.
Something I look for trout as well. I look for like little well, I guess before electronics, I'd look for transition lines. So, for example, you'd see like dirt and weeds on the shoreline, and then right next to it, you got like this part of the dam or a bunch of rocks. And so I kind of just in my head draw a line straight down, and know that that's a transition from rock to maybe sand bottom or something, and just drill some holes along that. But I love targeting trout in like 5 feet of water, 5 to 10. Later in the season for sure, 10 to 30. But yeah,
they're early ice.
Early ice, you can go shallow, 5 feet of water, and you can just sit there and sight fish them. But
the biggest fish I've caught up at Mirror Lake was in 2 feet of water. So I was like, there's a log that fell into the water here. So I was like, I'll drill a hole right next to it, thinking there's fish like under it, not realizing it was like the slope was barely anything. Like I was like, maybe I could drop off, but no, it wasn't.
2 feet.
And so I was like, well, I drilled a hole here and might as well fish in it. So I was just jigging, and it was like you said, pulled weeds right up out of the hole. But I was like, I drilled the hole. Let's try it. A minute in, boom. And it was a good fat rainbow, so for at least Mirror Lake, so it was healthy.
It's cool.
No, definitely. You can ice fish without electronics, but in order to have a successful trip, almost every time electronics are needed. There are a lot more affordable options, even from when we started ice fishing. I feel like you can get these little transducers that go in the water in your hole that connect to your phone.
Yeah,
I think they're like anywhere between $80 to $120.
You got the iBobber and you got the Garmin Cast something.
Yeah.
And even with those, they might not be the most accurate, but you can at least check your depth and see that something's in the area, and go from there. It's better than fishing blind.
Yep.
But if you don't have a fish finder, don't stick in a spot too long. Rule number 1 that was hardest to learn when starting ice fishing is do not set up until you caught a fish.
Yeah.
It might take an hour or two, but it's one of those things that if you get stuck in a hole that you haven't caught any fish at, you're not going to catch anything all day. That goes for every species, I feel like. But
there's a guy I work with actually that him and his dad have ice fished for years, and they got snowmobiles, and they always go to Strawberry. So they just go out to the middle of nowhere, find the shoreline that looks good, like Shandon said, just find that break, and then just go 10, 20 feet off the shoreline, drill a hole, drop down, and they catch like 40, 50 fish a day, no electronics.
Wow.
And they just slay them. And they're like, okay, that's good, let's go home. So,
again, that's one of those lakes, though, that
you
don't need an electronic. I'm not. I love Strawberry for the action, but
it's great.
It's one of those lakes that's where I was going a lot when I didn't have electronics.
Yeah. It's very helpful though. To
Strawberry
know.
and Schofield. But no, they're helpful. Bunch of different options that you can look into, and honestly, Facebook Marketplace, guys.
Yeah.
Great place.
People are always selling them.
Seeing that people are getting rid of them, or make your own. You can make your own for really cheap. I know me and Shannon both have kind of our own homemade ones.
Yeah.
What are you rocking?
I just rock the Garmin Striker 4 Plus.
Okay. With the case?
Yep, with the case. It works great. I love it. I even throw it on my boat and throw it off the side, and that's how I fish. Just take it in the case. So, works good, does the job, but definitely want something better, a little bit better. But for
He's
starting,
wanting that live scope.
I know, I'm eyeing the live scope, so we'll see. Maybe. I don't know. Yeah.
Ask Santa.
Yeah. But if you're wanting to start off, I'd recommend looking at the Garmin Striker 4 or the Striker 4 Plus. The 4, I think it's like $250 in the ice bundle.
They're now $279.
$279. Oh, and then the Striker.
They've gone up in price. Yeah.
And the Striker 4 Plus is $350.
Well, I bought just the fish finder, and I built my own battery box. So that if the price is going up, that might be something you want to look into.
Did you? So yeah, you can build your own. Honestly, so I looked on Amazon. They can even sell the older Striker. I had the very first Striker 4. I think I got it for $80.
Yeah, I got mine for 100.
Yeah, 80 to $100 for the old Striker 4, and then it does come with the transducer that you can use PVC and stick that down there, or you can just get another transducer off Amazon as well. And I believe that transducer for the ice, the basic one, was 70. Okay, 70 on that one, or you can get the upgraded version, and that one's 119. I honestly did not notice a difference between the two ice transducers for the Garmin Striker 4. Just fair warning for people on that. Maybe I can go deeper, but it's not that much of a difference for Utah lakes.
For the Striker 4, there's not much of a difference with the transducer.
Yeah.
So, I mean, once you get into the bigger ones, it's definitely got bigger ranges and more focus towards deep waters or shallow waters, going more wide. But for the 4, there's not much options.
So we'll see next season. I'll report to you guys if I notice a difference with my new unit.
Yeah. That'll be sweet to have.
Well, let's jump into panfish.
Yeah, let's talk panfish. Shandon, you talk. You're pretty good at getting panfish.
Panfish are always fun because they're always coming in big giant schools. I think the first time I usually go out for panfish is when Utah Lake freezes.
Yeah.
Because then you just fish right off the docks, and there's so much.
Yeah, tons.
And this lately they're starting to get bigger.
Yeah.
So I think
last
more
year's
people are just keeping the white bass because they're overpopulated. So a lot of people are keeping them, which is decreasing the number. They're not as thick, so they're growing bigger, and the perch are getting more healthier, and
Crappie
are looking really good. Yeah, they're getting bigger.
I was surprised to actually see color on the perch.
Yeah, like they were actually colored last year. Yeah.
Because how dirty that water is. But when they get bigger, I feel like they just grow that color. So
yeah,
that's saying something.
Yeah, all the panfish in Utah Lake are getting bigger, so that's really good. Pineview, we hit Pineview a couple times last year for the crappie, and that was awesome.
Yeah.
So that's fun. Fish Lake is amazing for perch. You got crystal clear water. You can just sight fish for the perch there, which is super fun. But I usually use a little tungsten jig with how to tip it with a little waxworm or millworm, and then sometimes I use plastics as well. But yeah, they're a lot of fun.
You using a ultra heavy rod on those panfish?
Extra heavy. No, ultralight.
Frostbite slugger.
Frostbite slugger. Yeah. No, just a little ultralight for them, and then
it's a game changer on the ultralight.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You gotta be able to see those strikes. Just a little twitch of the tip of your rod. Yeah.
Even
sometimes
on a
spring bobber too.
You won't even move it because they're so light. So.
Yeah.
See, I haven't been much of a pan fisherman, and like now that I've gotten more into ice fishing, I look back and I'm like, I've actually caught some pretty good sized perch, but I was like, oh, it's not my 20-inch trout that I'm looking for. Like, but no, I think now doing it more, it's the hunt for them, because that's the biggest thing is it's a different type of fishing. Like you're hunting for where those schools are, where they're going. They actually put different structures and stuff, man-made structures and lakes and things for those types of fish to kind of hang out.
Yeah.
That's number one what I look for when going out for them. I've only gone out twice, but my buddy showed me they look like crosses almost on the maps, and that's where they kind of got those structure. You can only find those on like the old-timey local maps. I've seen one for Manue, or do you guys call it Mantua? I've heard both.
Manue.
Okay, perfect. Manue.
I used to call it Mantua.
No, you're a true Utah now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've seen one for there, and I'm sure there are others that are like that. I know that Strawberry has an old-timey map that I've came across. Can't come across it again. Not sure where I saw it.
I've seen the old one. Yeah, the Strawberry old map. Yeah,
it's pretty sweet. It shows you like where the old roads are down there and things like that. But
it's sweet.
Yeah,
I'd say with panfish, thing for me is I haven't ever been like consistent in finding them. So it's like, for me, what's been helpful is just like getting on Facebook, and this sounds like cheating, but it's like getting on Facebook, on the groups. There's like the Ice Addiction, Utah Ice Addiction, and other groups. And just scroll through and see what people are posting about catching a lot, and then just message them. And 9 times out of 10, people have been willing to talk to me and tell me, kind of like give me hints, kind of not necessarily the exact place, but just say the general area and kind of what to look for. And that's how I was able to be super successful at Pineview, just getting on massive schools of crappie. I'm in 40 feet of water, and from 40 feet up to 20 feet is basically just filled with fish.
That's so cool.
And so it was just on fish all night long. So
They're fun. The crappie, I would say, you can find crappie usually like in the deeper basins. Same with perch. They're going to be on bottom. Crappie may be a little more suspended than perch. Bluegill are going to be more suspended.
Yeah.
Now, you can fish those guys in different areas, right? But after a certain point with panfish, you got to keep them, or it's the most ethical thing to keep them. Isn't that right?
Yeah. Yeah, they're the barotrauma, right? Is that how you say it?
Yeah, barotrauma.
So when they're in deeper water, Shannon, you explain this. You're probably better at explaining it than me.
When they're in deeper water, you reel them up it's like 28 to 30 feet of water is kind of the cutoff. Anywhere past that, they may get barotrauma, which is basically when you reel them up too fast, the pressure in their swim bladder just expands, and you'll see their eyes pop out, or like their stomach come out of their throat.
Yeah, it's gross.
Yeah, there's a tool that's really popular for saltwater anglers. It's like a weight, and it clips onto the fish's mouth, and you just drop them back down to the depth that you caught them at, and then it unclips, and supposedly they have a higher chance of surviving. I don't know I need to look into studies and see what the actual rate is, but you can make one out of a bottom bouncer. So you got the weight of the bottom bouncer, and then you just have a wire downwards, and you just press the wire down into their bottom lip and send them back down to where you caught them, and then yank it. You just yank up, and the wire comes out of their mouth. But yeah,
They make good fish tacos, so keep
right.
them.
yeah, that's right.
Last night, Shannon and I learned something about perch.
Oh, dude, really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly, so you might have to correct me. But perch, they like to go. There's different water or columns in the water that are higher density of oxygen than others, and so the perch they're able to operate in lower oxygen waters, and so if you can find those spots, they'll get there to hide from the predators. And so
It's usually deeper.
yeah, so deep water, they'll just hang out at bottom. I don't know how active they are in deep water like that when it's in lower oxygen. You'd think they might not be as...
They might slow down a little bit,
Yeah.
but I bet they still eat.
Yeah, probably. They got to. So
Yeah.
if you can find somewhere that's probably pretty close to like a drop-off with like good vegetation, but low oxygen, then you could do that. Find that. One thing that I've heard that I learned from Clayton Schick, I think it was, when looking for different like levels of oxygen in the water, is go onto your transducer and turn your gain all the way up. And then if you're in like 20, 30 feet, 40 feet plus, you can kind of see that on your transducer, there'll be levels of where like there's a lot more bubbles. So it's not necessarily picking up weeds or fish in it, but it's just showing you the density of the oxygen. And so the more kind of the different layers of it.
Thermocline is what.
Yeah, the thermocline. And so that thermocline is where a lot of fish are going to sit. So like kokanee specifically, that's what I would learn to do it from, is find the thermocline, because the kokanee will sit in that thermocline to eat the microplankton.
That's sweet, yeah. Science and fishing.
What's the flash? I can't remember. It makes the flash. Yeah, Vexlar.
Yeah.
Vexlar actually makes a tool where you can drop down. Yeah, you can just drop it down. It tells you the exact temperature of wherever
Oh, really?
the depth it's at.
That's sweet.
I can't remember the name of it. It's like a thermometer.
Thermometer.
Yeah, if you're watching the video, we'll put it up on the screen. But yeah, if you're looking for something like that, you can get super scientific with that. But
Yeah.
yeah.
I think if you're really becoming a good fisherman, it's like you're becoming a good biologist.
Yeah.
You learn
that's
so
right.
much about it. because it's a hunt. Fishing becomes a hunt, just like tracking fish down and looking for them. That's the fun part, is just finding the fish and then knowing you drop down and you catch what you're looking for.
Yep.
So, yeah, anything else with panfish? Where are lakes that we got panfish in Utah?
Utah Lake, Pineview, Fish Lake,
Echo.
Echo has Manaway has massive
Massive.
perch and bluegill. They may have all died off this year,
Really?
but yeah, they went and poisoned it, trying to get rid of the.
Oh, they did.
Trying to get rid of the algae bloom.
Oh,
And a bunch of fish are dying because I don't. Yeah, anyway.
dang! I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, so that's not good. Rockport's got some big perch and bluegill too, I think.
Can't believe
Deer
you're
Creek.
forgetting your favorite. Oh,
Yep. Oh, I was waiting.
Where at?
Deer Creek.
Deer
You got
Creek.
massive crappie and some massive perch in there. They're hard to find though, but
Yeah.
by the island.
Big bullhead catfish too.
Yeah.
I kind of think bullhead should be in the panfish category.
yeah,
I've still caught a catfish out of the ice. I don't care.
it's a panfish sized crayfish.
Yeah, panfish size catfish.
Except for mine. Mine was not
taste as
panfish.
good.
Yours is big. Taylor here used to hold the state record.
Yeah, I had a state record for a year. It was like 16 and a half, I think. is
Big
what it
old
was.
bullhead, dude.
It was
Yeah,
fat.
that's a big
It was
bull.
fat.
It's a
They don't taste as
panfish.
good as panfish, though.
I'm on the panfish argument.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, if you catch them out of the Jordan River, 100% panfish.
Leave a comment
They're
below
like
what you guys
8
think.
inches.
Yeah. Comment down below. Are bullhead catfish a panfish or are they a catfish?
It's in the name.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Well, let's move on to walleye.
Walleye. Good old
How do
walleye.
we target? Yeah.
Or a wall?
Walters.
Walters.
Let's go catch us a Walter.
How do we target walleye?
You don't.
You don't. They can be hard through the
They
ice
are hard.
sometimes, but
They're such an interesting fish because Utah, we struggle so hard, but in the Midwest, they catch them hand over fist.
in Canada too.
In Canada.
Yeah.
But Utah, very specific. Walleye masters, take it away.
First off, I'd say it's what you're jigging with. First thing I learned was I could not throw my trout stuff.
Nope.
For
It's way different.
I was like, oh yeah, my tube jig, it'll work. No, it's too aggressive of an action that it just scares them off. Doesn't give any interest. I mean, there are some things that are versatile, but it's just very. You gotta switch gear. You gotta create a new tackle box for walleye.
Yeah.
Was what I learned first. So got your spoons. Was the biggest thing was I slayed them last year with spoons, and that was a little rattle bait. Those work
Ripping
best.
rafts, rattle baits, spoons. Yeah.
Yep. So that would be first off is for different species, know you're gonna need different tackle. So walleye was the first thing I learned was different tackle.
Jigging a minnow.
Yep.
Jigging a worm even too, but jigging a minnow.
Those ones are on super heavy rods?
Not necessarily. I like to use a medium light and medium.
Yeah.
So depends what I'm throwing. If I'm throwing a bigger jig, I'll throw it on medium. Lighter jig, medium light. So same type of rods you could use for trout. Just throw a different tackle on it.
Later in the season too, you can catch them on just a jig and a worm, but mainly I like using spoons and then tipping it with a minnow head. So you can buy you can buy minnows, dead minnows or whatever, and just squeeze the head off and put it on the hook, and that works really good for walleye.
So something I kind of have found out this year, just watching YouTube, trying to keep our itch fixed, is Clayton Schick was actually saying that he doesn't tip his lures anymore with bait because it affects the action.
Yeah.
It definitely does.
Can.
Yeah.
So have you guys tried fishing a lot this season without baits? I don't know, that's something I'm definitely going to be gearing towards is trying it without baits. I mean, if anything, use some scent on there, but I'm definitely curious what the difference of using bait versus not using bait would be for the action of those lures.
It depends what lure I'm throwing, I guess, or what I'm going for. I mean, like Shannon said, jigging a minnow. I mean, you're taking a jig head and tipping a minnow on there. Same thing, jig and a worm, thread a worm on there. Those will work, but like if you're taking like a swim bait and putting a big chunk of like worm on top of it or chub on top of it, definitely will throw off the action. And same thing with like a rip and wrap, completely throw off the action. So don't tip those. Those just work by themselves. So
Lipless cranks or rattle baits, yeah, that kind of throws it off. Structure you can look for walleye, just transition lines, rocks, weed lines, things like that. Earlier in the season, they tend to be, you can find them shallow, really shallow, and then later in the year, they go down to like 40, 50 feet sometimes, but you can still, obviously you can still find them shallow all the time, but I don't know. Yeah. I'm not no professional.
Yeah.
They're definitely an elusive fish to figure out. Like, it takes some of these guys years and years to figure them out.
Mm-hmm. Bite windows are usually short further through the ice. So I usually find like a little point, mid-lake point, around 20 feet, and as the sun's rising, you'll run it, you'll catch them, and then as the sun's falling into dark, into the night, you'll catch them there. So that's, definitely probably your most important time to be out fishing.
Have you had a lot of success at night? I know they're kind of more. Okay.
Cool. Yeah, I use at nighttime when I'm camping. I'll use rattle baits. Okay. So we glow in the dark too, but yeah, rattles something has some noise. Nice. But even spoons, we've caught quite a bit at night. So
I feel like for me, the biggest thing is finding structure. It's just hard to know what structure you're looking for. So I feel like rocky next to like a weedy area. It doesn't have to be right next to the weeds, but know that there's weeds around with good rocky area that then goes into like a good sand flat. Going right up against the rocks and the sand is where I found was best, because they'll be coming in and out of the rocks, but they'll mainly just cruise that sand flat there. And so I just kind of worked that column, and that's where I'd find them the most. So it's kind of hard with walleye because a lot of time they'll be cruising right on the ground. So if you have electronics, your transducer might not pick it up.
Yep.
And so that's the biggest thing. So I typically will drop all the way to the bottom, reel up about 1.5 feet, and jig right there, because they'll go up and they'll bite it.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah. You definitely can't suspend your bait in the middle of the water column or towards the top, like trout.
Yeah.
You gotta drop all the way down to the bottom. You're pounding bottom, and you're at least within that 2 feet of bottom. So definitely different, a lot different than targeting trout, but
yeah.
What I want to kind of throw in here, I know it's not on our list there, guys, but bass, I feel like can kind of go in that category with walleye as well. Those ones,
great topic.
I have not caught one through the ice yet, but based off of what I've heard from other people is they kind of pot up in a little secluded area. They stay in a general area, and you just literally have to find out where that area is.
Yeah.
Yeah, those ones are a hard hunt, and that's why you don't hear a lot of people having a lot of success, because they are warm water fish. But
yeah, warm water species. I think if you're trying to target them, the most important thing is find a lake or reservoir or whatever that's shallow, because they're a warm water species. They go deep into the warmer water. Up top it's frozen, down lower it's gonna be a little warmer. So if you can find something where it's not, where it's more ethical, like 20 feet or even shallower, where you can catch them and still release them, that's the best.
Because that barotrauma, right?
Yeah, barotrauma. Yeah, but yeah, they definitely school up. I've caught quite a bit down in Monticello, where I'm from. There's a bunch of bass ponds, and they're all like 10 feet or shallower.
Oh, that's sweet.
And, dude, you just lay into them. There's some massive ones in there, too. So
Dang,
they're fun. They're not super, they're slower. So you got your jigging cadence is pretty small, but yeah.
I've only got one largemouth through the ice, and it was fishing for panfish.
Yeah.
So I got lucky with that, but it was
a good bass, though.
Yeah.
That's how I got my catfish.
It was a great fish. Yeah.
Your panfish?
You never know. Yeah, your panfish.
Bullhead.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, bull crap is what it is.
So yeah, I mean, you can catch bass. So I would just look for shallow lakes, and you'll be golden. Yeah. A lot easier to find in shallower lakes. So
okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
We'll have to go do it.
Yeah, I feel like they go and dig into the weeds. They just barrel themselves down into it and almost make that like their blanket too.
Yeah.
And they'll just sit in that. So
yeah,
they're hard to find, because I've dropped down like cameras, into like the weeds, and I'll just like sometimes I'll just see their head just like poking right out of the weeds, and it's just like they're just chilling there.
Highland Glen.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, dude. There's some toads
There's
in
some
there.
big ones in there.
We went there a lot
Yeah.
last year. It was
Yeah, we
sick.
drilled holes to that whole little pond.
The whole lake got pummeled by us. bro.
I have a love-hate relationship. Love-hate relationship with that pond. I went out there, left with my box of jigs out there. It
Oh,
was gone.
no.
Dang.
Oh, no.
It's a great, easy place to go fish.
Yeah.
but, yeah. Great pond.
Dang.
Little dinks.
Yeah.
Besides the bass.
Yeah.
All right, pike and muskie.
Pike and musk.
These ones. Shannon, you figure them out the most, but I don't know if we've really figured out like where they're at.
Yeah, pike and muskie, I use tip ups. I mean, for walleye, sometimes use tip ups as well. But pike and muskie, yep, I'm using tip ups. If you're doing that, get yourself some tip ups. Buy yourselves they're called Predator Quick Strike rigs. It's the still leader, and it splits off into two different sections, and each has a treble hook on it. So 2 treble hooks, and then I'm using like 8 10-inch baits. Like a whole fish, and so you're hooking one treble hook through the head and one at the dorsal fin. And yeah, I'm dropping it down. So how you want to think about it, bait wise, is here's the general thing. So if you're going after 30-inch pike, you want to use like an 8 to 10-inch bait. It's a third of the size of the pike.
Okay.
So let's say if I'm using like a 12-inch bait, you just times that by 3, and you're going to expect pike or tiger muskie that are 36 inches or bigger. So that's kind of how you choose your bait size. Depth-wise for the tip-ups, the pike and muskie, they're always looking up. So you want to drop it down a third of the way into the water column. So if you're fishing like 10 feet of water with lots of weeds around, I love the weed beds. I'm only dropping the bait 3 feet down. If it's like 20 feet, I'm dropping it down. That's like 6 feet, and that's all.
Okay.
So just fishing that top third of the water column and just suspending that bait on the tip up.
Now would an iFish Pro work as well?
Yep.
Instead of a tip up?
Ice Fish Pro, Finicky
Something that kinda has
Fooler.
that open reel set up there that's not gonna allow the line to break.
Yep.
Okay.
iFish Pro and Finicky Fooler are probably your most popular versions.
The other thing for it too is they'll sometimes just take it and sit there within their like jaw, but they won't like swallow it all the way. So if you go to set the hook too early, or they'll spit it out. And then the other thing is you want that bell open because they'll sit there and sometimes just walk around and swim around, and then they'll gulf it. And so that's why you leave it open so they can take it all the way. So.
Yep.
Because if they feel that little bit of tension, they'll let go. So.
Gotcha. Little finicky bells. Now you caught tiger muskie out of this?
Last year I freaking had one on and I lost it at the hole.
Where's that at?
That was over in Cottonwood. Cottonwood or Bullock, I get the two mixed up.
Yeah.
They're like a stone throw away from each other.
Yeah.
So I get them both mixed. It's either Cottonwood but
This year.
so this year
the
I'm
year.
hitting Schofield hard for
Didn't you have a pike on at Utah Lake?
had a pike on at Utah Lake again at the hole. It came off. So yeah, Utah Lake recaptures a big one.
How come I never see any of this footage?
Well, some of that footage is always like,
X-rated, R-rated.
yeah, I'm getting mad, lost a big fish, getting mad. But it's also some of those days are getting skunked, or it's only a one fish
It's a lot
day.
of work.
Yeah,
Not a fun
so that's a
video.
little hard to make videos sometimes. YouTube videos out of those, but
Yep.
I definitely have some, from Yuba or.
I had a buddy catch a big tiger muskie out of Pine View. He's just fishing for panfish. Big ole, I think it was over 40 inches.
That's a big one. The picture's great.
It's super fat, and it's one of those fish of 1,000 casts. I think that's only for casting.
Yeah.
Now it's a fish of 1,000 drops, and I've restarted my counter, so we're probably on like drop
10,000 holes.
Yeah,
10,000 holes you got to
fish
drill.
of 10,000 holes for sure.
Oh.
But those ones, I was actually watching a video today just about how to target those guys. unless you have a little bit more information you want to put on those, but they are very similar to your walleye, and based off what you guys were telling me earlier, is they'll start kind of in that shallower water. But in a lot of these places, we're very lucky in Utah, they don't close the season for them. As of December 1st,
Yep.
a lot of these other states will close the season for these fish to kind of recover because they're a little bit less active, and they've been hit hard all summer. They've been active all summer. So they go into deeper water from the shallower water and just kind of chill. They're not going to be as active. Like we said, the colder water slows them down, but they are still possible to catch, as we've seen. But make sure, if you're watching out of state, that they're in season past December 1st. Hopefully you guys get ice in the next 2 weeks to catch them. Yeah. Because that would be a bummer.
Yeah. There are some bait restrictions, too, obviously, for all of these species. But for muskie, Pineview and Newton have different regulations for bait. So definitely look into that.
No live bait.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
It'd be so nice.
It would be sick, huh?
Yeah, I'd love that.
But
oh well.
That's it for those species, really. I think, right?
That's all we know. We're still figuring them out.
Yeah,
if you
guys, still working on the tiger muskie. But
yeah, if any of you have had success, comment down below. We want to hear it. Yes. All right, last ones that we got on our list is catfish and carp. Fun fish to catch, but
none of us. Yo, you're a freaking bullhead. That was a panfish, bro.
I caught a bullhead too. So I got lucky.
Caught a panfish.
Well, I was at Pineview, and all the crappie were down at that 20 or lower, and there's one fish fishing it coming across at 10. I was like, let's see what it is. So I reel up to it and just jigging. Shandon calls me, and so I answer the phone talking to him, and then it bit, and I was like, oh, it's bit. So I reeled it up. It was just a dink little bullhead. So it was a cute little guy. It was fun.
I've been trying to catch a carp for like 3 years through the ice. I've caught one, but it was I was targeting perch, and a little tiny carp came along at Yuba. Trying for catfish for like the last year or two, but no success.
Yeah, I don't know where they go.
They're tricky. I've heard lots of different things about where they go. They, like we were saying, Pineview, they're suspended, but then you got what are the bigger ones?
Channel
cats. Channel cats are low, mud burrowing fish. Like, that's what they do in the winter is they burrow.
So we don't have a lot of lakes either that freeze up.
You know what we got them last year? We got them at Highland Glen.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's
me and Jay got some.
Yeah, you got some channel cats.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
They were like 12, 13 inchers. Just a little bit bigger than the bullhead.
What were you guys using?
We were just using like what we were using.
Stuff, huh?
Yeah. I don't remember.
Little bluegill stuff.
Yeah, I think it was
tungsten jig.
Tungsten with the worm. Yeah. It was like right before it fully hit dark, and then we caught a couple right into the dark.
Huh.
So.
I forgot you caught some channel cats.
Yeah.
Well, frick, man, I need to catch me one.
I know.
Me and Tyson are slacking.
Glen is one of those ponds that if you haven't crossed something off your list,
there's everything in there.
You got a lot of stuff.
They got nasty brook trout, nasty tiger trout, rainbow trout, bass, crappie,
massive
bluegill,
wiper too, right?
Wiper in there somewhere.
They got goldfish and like
koi.
Yeah, not goldfish, but koi.
Yeah.
Have you pulled a goldfish or koi out? Yeah. I know you're.
I've pulled some goldfish out. Yeah.
Okay.
I love bow fishing for them. So last year I was like, I gotta catch one through the ice. Yeah. It wasn't a pretty one, so I didn't make a video or nothing out of it. But
hey, you got it on the list.
Yeah, I got it on the list. Got some pictures.
Nice.
But
well, guys, I mean, that's obviously the biggest things we have to target are going to be the catfish, carp, and muskie this year. Mm-hmm. I want to get on those pike and walleye, so we're going to have to tag a couple of those onto you. But what's your guys' proudest fish you guys have caught through the ice?
Oof. You got yours?
I have a lot of memories with my dad ice fishing for pike over at Recapture, so that's probably my favorite, but it's just like the whole story,
Yeah.
Me and my dad out on the ice together, back where I grew up, catching some big old pike on tip-ups, Can't beat it. You just have the tip-ups out. You're sitting in your lawn chairs, just chilling until a flag goes up. Shooting the bull until then. So they're tons of fun. Yeah. A lot of fun.
I think for me, I feel like one of the times I remember that was like I had a specific goal. I accomplished it, and like I was just hyped. And like was I went to Strawberry and my goal was to catch kokanee. And I was like, I did so much research beforehand. And I was like, I gotta go to this spot, go to this depth. They'll be huddled in this area. And so I fished for like 4 hours. And there's 2 schools that came through. And the first school that came through, I was luckily dropped down with a big old flasher and a squid on the end. And so I just started ripping. And I just ripped. And the next thing I know, I was like, fish! So I'm just like, come on, be a kokanee, be a kokanee. And reeled up, got it to the hole, and it was like a 16, 17-inch kokanee. It wasn't huge for Strawberry, but it was good size.
Good size, yeah.
And I was and I got it, and I was like, yeah, it's dope. I've gone to Electric Lake, caught kokanee through the ice, but those ones are smaller. But
they come in hordes, though.
Yeah.
They'll fill your fish. They're fun. They're
you
fun
can get a limit there easily.
It makes you almost wonder if your fish finder's wigging out for a second.
Yeah.
Because it's like,
it's
wait,
crazy.
Is that bottom?
Yeah.
They come in massive schools at Electric. So
Well, with Strawberry being so huge, I was just like, felt so accomplished and just like so surprised at the same time. Like, how did I do that? Because I haven't been able to get one since.
Yeah.
And so
it can be intimidating there at Strawberry.
they're hard.
Yeah, they are.
So that was a fun one. I don't know if that was like my favorite, but it was definitely like the most accomplished. Like, felt good. So, what about you, Tyson?
My favorite's probably gonna be 2 years ago. I went out to Jordanelle. It was my second and a half year of doing ice fishing there, and I was just sick of catching your rainbows and cutthroats, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna actually go out and do a little more research and see what we can catch. And went out to Jordanelle and was able to figure out catching splake, caught a 20-inch splake and a 24-inch brown trout in the same day. And so it's just one of those things where you're like, all right,
Yeah.
I'm accomplished.
That's sweet.
Both good species,
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
Great species, not pulling up. I almost, if we're going to be putting fish in other categories, I want to put cutthroats and rainbows in with catfish and carp. I think they're kind of garbage fish.
Yeah.
But hot take.
Fun fish to catch, but there's too many of them in Utah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are. I agree.
Well, it's been a good episode. We've got a little bit of everything about how to target fish. So
Now, if only we can get to catching them soon.
yeah,
Counting down.
No, we need that ice. Pray for ice. Everybody pray for ice.
yeah. I think we could even talk more about other fish, but we can do that in another episode. I mean, we didn't go about burbot. Didn't talk too much about lake trout. And kind of what you got to do with those, but
We'll do a Flaming Gorge episode.
yeah,
At the gorge.
Yeah, we'll do
Yeah.
that at the gorge. Yeah,
that'd be sweet.
That's
good.
what we'll do.
It's a good idea. Just do the episode there.
Yeah.
Still haven't reached our 15 followers, guys. I'm not asking for much. I think last time I checked, we had 10. 5 more. We'll pick a random person out of the drawing. Got a nice red rod with a nice red reel on there. It's free. All you have to do is subscribe, guys.
Do it.
Yeah, if you're watching this on Spotify, give us a follow as well. If you want to enter this drawing, go to our YouTube, Yeet Fishing Podcast, or just Yeet Fishing. Subscribe to that, and you'll be entered into the drawing. So,
Leave a comment, too, and you'll get 2 drawings.
hey, there you go.
And then go follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Frozen Frenzy Ice Fishing. That also is connected with our tournament, which is Frozen Frenzy Ice Fishing Tournament at Schofield and Strawberry Reservoir. So we kind of have a little bit combination there going on, but I have some awesome things there. So go sign up for the tournament as well, because it's going to be a good time.
I'm stoked.
Yep.
Oh, by the way, just real fast.
Oh.
So we had a drawing for the tournament. Whoever registered by a specific time would be put into a drawing for the striker gloves. Let me pull up the winner.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
Just to name who the winner was. So we drew, and Jonah McKell won that drawing. So he won himself the brand new striker warm waterproof gloves. So those are pretty sick.
Yeah, they're sweet.
But yeah, just a little
Nice.
shout out.
Uh-huh. So thanks for joining the tournament. We'll see you there, brother.
Yeah, I'll see you there.
We got many more prizes coming ahead just at the tournament. So we'll have a raffle, and then also first, second, third, and even more prizes potentially. So Go sign up. Fish Donkey app and search Frozen Frenzy. It'll pop up, bright blue logo.
$50 entry fee.
Yep.
Multi-species tournament. So.
First place prize, $1,000. So that's the
yeah.
biggest thing. So, yep. Well, fellas, thanks for coming on the podcast today.
Thanks for having us.
It's been a good wrap and a good episode. And I think we can call this an episode, eh?
I like it.
All right.
Yeet fishing out.